So I was looking back at some of my old videos and I noticed that I've only done 2 videos on the Batman, and both those videos performed pretty well, so I thought why not do a tier ranking of the Batman villains. Also, a lot of my tier list videos performed pretty well also, and I know I haven't done one of those in a while, but I don't even know if they're still popular, but I thought why not, let's just go ahead and do that. So, someone else made this tier list thing, so all the villains, I don't know who is all here, so let's just go ahead and jump into it, rank these villains. So, starting off with Killer Croc. The only reason I'm putting him as an above average villain is the writing doesn't really put him as that, but I love Ron Perlman so much and he does the voice, so I'm going to put Killer Croc in the B tier. Mr. Freeze, another villain I think is just elevated by the voice performance. Clancy Brown gives a great performance as Mr. Freeze, and overall as a character in the show I think he's okay. He doesn't compare to Batman the Animated Series Mr. Freeze, but that's hard to do, so I'm okay with them going a different route, and I think most of the episodes he's in are pretty enjoyable, so I'm going to put Mr. Freeze in the A tier. I'm going to do these next two together, Wrath and Scorn. I really do not like these villains whatsoever. They're basically a dark mirror to Batman and Robin, which could be an interesting concept, but I don't think these characters had any depth and they're just in one episode. And I think it's ridiculous that they pose such a threat to Batman and Robin, so yeah, I'm going to put them in the F tier. I really do not like the villains or the episode they're in. Now, the ventriloquist, I believe, is who that is. Some of these characters I may not necessarily recognize, but I'm almost 100% sure that's the ventriloquist. Like, he was in a few episodes. None of his episodes are that amazing, in my opinion. And his character doesn't have too much depth to him, but he's still not a bad character, so I'm gonna put him in the C tier. Bane, another character that's going in the C tier. His introduction episode is absolutely amazing, but after that, he was kind of written off the show, and every time he did come into the show again, he was kind of treated as a jobber. If you don't know what that is, he's basically just there to get beat up by Batman or get arrested by the police. So yeah, C tier. Black Mask, he was phenomenal in the show. He's not in that many episodes as I recall, but his introduction episode is one of the best episodes of the entire show, and as he shows up after, he may only be in one episode. I remember him being in the final season with the Batman, Superman, Justice League arc, and I remember him being decent in that. So I'm going to put Black Mask up here with Mr. Freeze in the A tier. Catwoman, another character that's going to go in the A tier. Now, I'm usually not that much of a fan of Catwoman, but just something about this show's take on her I really do enjoy. From the design to the performance and her dynamic with Batman. I think this is one of my favorite Batman Catwoman dynamics, and I don't really know how to explain it. But yeah, I really do love her in this show. Next up, it looks like Clayface, and I believe that is the Basil Karlo Clayface, not the Ethan Bennett Clayface, so I'm actually going to put him in the C tier. He was only in one episode, and I think he did his job well enough. He was not nearly as good as Ethan Bennett's Clayface, but, I mean, I'm actually probably going to put him in the D tier. I'm changing my mind on that because I don't think there was really too much of a point of his character. So yeah, D tier. I think the Clayface story arc should have been over after Ethan Bennett started to reform and all that. And I kind of wish we would have gotten more out of Ethan Bennett Clayface, even though I do think he's amazing. You'll hear more on that later. Now, Clue Master. This may shock a lot of people, but I actually do think he is an above average villain in the show. I think his motivations make sense, and he's just kind of this fat kid that never grew up and can't get over losing, which sounds ridiculous for a villain, but I think it works within the episode he's in. And it just works for this show, so he's going to the B tier. Now, Toy Master, I believe. I don't remember much about him, but I don't remember him being bad, but kind of like the Basil Karlo thing, I don't see the point of having his character. It's probably just a filler episode or something. Now, Vertigo. I think Vertigo did add something to the show. It added something to Green Arrow's character, which is the only Justice Leaguer outside of Batman himself that I think really got fleshed out in the show and actually got a character, like a story arc. So I'm gonna put Vertigo in the C tier. He's not amazing or anything, but I think he did his job, and he is probably better than Bane and the Ventriloquist, honestly, but okay, yes, I'm gonna put him in the B tier. I've talked myself out of that. Now, Firefly. Absolutely love Firefly in this show. This is the best Firefly design, and I think this is the best Firefly portrayal in anything. I haven't read him in any comics or anything. He could be better in the comics. This and Arkham Origins are the only thing I really love Firefly in. So I'm going to put Firefly in the A tier. Now the Riddler. I actually think the Riddler is the best villain within the show. Yes, I think he is better than the Joker. Not by too much. The Joker is still great. The Joker is always great in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't like the Joker because he's overused and all that. And that could be a gripe towards him in the show, but I don't really think he is. And the Riddler, exact opposite of that, used very rarely within the show. And within a lot of things, actually. But yeah, the Riddler only appeared in 3 episodes of the show, and I think the 2 solo Riddler episodes, and what I mean by that is the 3rd episode he appears in, has Joker and the Penguin also. I think the 2 solo Riddler episodes are 2 of the best episodes of the entire show. His introduction episode is my absolute favorite of the entire show. And Robert Englund, once again, he just gives a great voice performance as the Riddler. The only downside of the Riddler is his design. The character, the origin, the dialogue, how he's written, everything about the character is so great. So he is going into the S tier. Now this looks like Fox from the Terrible Trio, and I actually didn't hate the Terrible Trio episode of the show, and I actually think it's the most interesting The Terrible Trio I've ever been, but with that being said, they're still not good as characters, so I'm going to put them in the D tier. And I'm going to go ahead and find Shark, and Vulture, it might be his name, I don't remember his name, Falcon maybe, I don't know. Anyway. Going on to Dracula. Only appeared in the movie The Batman vs. Dracula. Absolutely love this movie. I love watching it every Halloween. It's a great movie for the fall season, and it has a completely different tone than the rest of the show, but let's get off that topic and go to Dracula himself. I think Dracula is a great foe for Batman. And it's kind of weird that we didn't see Batman vs. Dracula in anything on screen before this, because it seems like such an obvious parallel to draw and to pit them against each other. I guess a lot of things thought it would probably be cheesy and hokey and ridiculous, but this show pulls it off and I absolutely love it. So yeah, I think Dracula is an S tier villain, although he only appears in 1 adaptation, but it's a whole movie, so he gets plenty of character development. Now Clayface, I was talking about how I love Ethan Bennett Clayface so much in this show, and he's going the S tier. I just love the whole Clayface arc. The Clayface arc is probably the best arc that played out in the entire show. Now this guy from Seconds, I don't remember his name, but I kind of just wish they would have used the Clock King. I know a lot of people do love this episode, and I know a lot of people probably hate it too. It's one of those diversive episodes, and I'm just kind of in the middle on it. I don't love it, I don't hate it, it's okay, it's watchable, but like I said, I would have probably liked this episode more if it was Clock King, so just the fact that I can't remember this guy's name without googling it, and I'm not even going to bother to google it. If you get mad at me for that, just correct me in the comments, whatever. But I'm going to put him in the D tier, because he's only in 1 episode, and I think he did serve his purpose, but I don't think he was that great. Now RPM, this is kind of what I just said with the time guy. He was in 1 episode, served his purpose, wasn't that great, but I think this is a much better episode than Seconds, and I know that's controversial, but I do like this episode a lot, and I think he was actually a pretty formidable foe for Batman. Could transform in a car or whatever, like a transformer, and he like destroyed the Batmobile. So just that he like left such an impact on the actual show, I'm gonna put him in the C tier. Because Batman actually did get a new Batmobile after that, I believe. Harley Quinn, I do not enjoy this show's version of Harley Quinn. I love Harley and almost everything outside of the show, and I don't know what it is about the show that makes me not like her so much. I mean, she's annoying in the show, I think, but that could just be me, and I don't know why I find her so annoying, I just do. So, I'm gonna put her in the D tier. I don't think she's as bad as Wrath or Scorn, but she's pretty bad in my opinion. Now, Hugo Strange, another great villain of the show. He's really the big bad of the entire show. From season 3 onward, until the show's conclusion, he was basically the big bad of the show. He's behind every major thing that happened, just about. So he has to go in the S tier. The Joker, of course he has to go in the S tier. He is Batman's arch nemesis. Say what you want about the design, but the Joker, the performance by Michael Kevin Richardson is great. And I kind of like a Joker that can actually combat Batman on a physical level. You don't really have that outside of the show, which is why I love the show's version of the Joker so much. I love that it's different. The Kabuki twins. So these are just pretty much Penguin's goons, and they serve their purpose. I mean, they have pretty good fights, so I'm gonna put them in the C tier because there's not really anything I dislike about their character, but they don't really add too much to the show at the same time. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and put Punch and Judy there because I think the exact same thing of them. Killer Moth. So, Killer Moth, he's pretty much played as a joke, but it works. So, as a character, he's not really good, but I do enjoy him more than Wrath and Scorn, so I'm gonna put him in the D tier. Now, Lex Luthor. I don't remember a lot about the show's version of Lex Luthor, but I remember him being pretty decent, and I mean, Lex is always a pretty good villain in anything. He's not an extremely hard character to write, but now I don't want to discredit any other version of Lex that writing him is extremely easy, although, I mean, I haven't seen really a bad version of Lex Luthor outside of, I think the Batman v Superman version is awful, but that's just me, that's personal taste. It wasn't because of bad writing or anything like that. I just didn't like his performance. Oh, anyway, I'm going to put Lex Luthor in the B tier because, just kind of like I said with Vertigo, I think Lex helped further Superman's character, although it wasn't to the level that Vertigo helped further Green Arrow's character, but anyway, along the same lines. Now, Man-Bat. Man-Bat's always been a character I haven't been a huge fan of, but I don't hate him, and same thing in this show. I think this version is kind of weirder than he usually is, or maybe not because I'm just accustomed to Batman the Animated Series of Man-Bat, and he's not that weird in this. He's not spin up goo and all that. But anyway, I think he's pretty formidable to Batman, and I'm pretty sure that's probably becoming pretty repetitive. I've said that about a lot of these villains. But I'm gonna put him in the C tier. And this, I have no idea who this is. So, I guess F tier, because I don't remember her. If you know who that is, let me know in the comments below, and if I'm stupid, I'm sorry. Mirror Master. Now, I don't think he's on the level of Vertigo or Lex Luthor. I think he did his job well enough. He didn't really further the Flash's story or anything, but I actually do really love the episode he's in. That's probably my favorite season 5 episode, is the Mirror Master episode with the Flash, but it's mostly because of the Flash and not him. But with all that being said, I'm still gonna put him in the C tier. I think he's perfectly fine. Number 1, this is a really interesting character. This is basically Black Mask number 1 henchman. It's who leads things where he can't lead. He's leading Black Mask crew to break him out in Black Mask introduction episode because Black Mask is in prison. I think this character is just really interesting, so I'm gonna put him in the B tier. And there is a new number 1 after the first episode. This dude, I don't remember if Black Mask shot him or what, and it was here, you're the new number 1, but I just think it's a really cool concept. Poison Ivy, I am not a fan of Poison Ivy in this show. I'm not a fan of Poison Ivy overall that much. I'm loving her in Harley Quinn right now, for anyone that cares. But she wasn't really in that many good episodes of this show, and He wasn't really in bad episodes either, so I'm gonna put her in the C tier. That's really what it comes down to with these tier rankings with me, is if they haven't really done that great of things, but they haven't done bad things either, I just throw them in the C tier, because it's just an easy thing to do, just a good middle ground. But anyway, getting into the Penguin. This is probably my favorite version of the character ever. This and Gotham are up there for me. Also, Batman Returns Penguin is great, but I grew up with this Penguin, so that's probably part of why I love this version so much and always come back to this version. But similar to what I said with the Joker, I like that Penguin can kind of combat Batman in a physical way. Like, he can put up a fight. He's not gonna beat Batman in a fight, but like, he can put up a fight and maybe get away or something. So I don't think he's quite on the level of Joker or Riddler or any of them, so I'm gonna put him on the A tier. Ragdoll. I enjoy Ragdoll quite a bit. I think he did his job and he's an enjoyable character, so I'm gonna put him in the C tier. I would put him in the B tier, but he's just... Okay, I gotta put him in the B tier. Because I was going to say he's not in that many episodes, but neither is Vertigo, Number 1, or Lex Luthor. Really, the only one in a lot of episodes in the B tier is Killer Croc, so that would be hypocritical of me, right? Rumor. This is an interesting character and he's formidable, but I just don't think his character got enough depth. Like, he gets all of Gotham's rogues in one prison room thing. Like, he's doing what Batman never would and he's gonna kill him. He has them all locked up, but then, of course, Batman and Robin save the day, but rumor, like, releases all of Gotham's villains against him, which was pretty cool, but anyway, yeah, he didn't have much depth, but he's formidable, and he was a cool character, and that was a cool episode, so I'm gonna put him in the C tier. Rupert Thorne, F tier, because he's only in, like, the first minute of the first episode. Dave is actually a great villain. This kind of reminds me of Hardak from Batman the Animated Series, but I think Dave is just so much better because he doesn't have a personality as a robot, obviously, but Dave stands for digital... It stands for something villain emulator, I don't remember exactly what, but it's just really interesting that he has all these things about all of Gotham's villains in his mind, and how Batman defeats him is that he doesn't have an origin story like all the other great villains, and like that basically makes Dave malfunction. I'm usually not a fan of robots and stuff, but I think this episode really works just because it makes sense how this robot has all these evil schemes and thinks he's Gotham's ultimate criminal mastermind. And he would have beaten Batman if Batman didn't have that one thing on him. So I'm gonna put Dave in the A tier because that is one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. And like I said about this chick and Rupert Thorne, kind of, because I do remember this guy. He's in the Batgirl episode, Batgirl Begins, where Poison Ivy is born and all that. But I don't remember anything about the dude, so F tier. Everywhere Man. D tier. There's not much to say about him. He's just, he's kind of everywhere and all that. He's not a super interesting villain, but I don't think he's as bad as Wrath and Scorn. It always comes back to that, right? Wrath and Scorn are just awful in my opinion. Tony Zuko. Another A tier. No, B tier, I'll be fair. I'm gonna put Dave in the B tier too. Him and Tony Zuko, for the same reasons, is I just don't think they got enough to do and not quite enough character depth to compare to someone like Penguin, Catwoman, Mr. Freeze, Firefly. But they were great in the episodes they were in. Tony Zuko actually got a lot of character development, and you just got to see how purely evil this dude was. Of course, he murdered Dick Grayson's parents, and then as he's battling Batman and Robin, he's going to kill Batman, I believe, and Robin saves Batman. Anyway, moving on to Scarface. I do think Scarface is slightly better than the Ventriloquist, because Scarface is really the villain and the Ventriloquist is not. I'm sorry, when I'm speaking fast like this, I cannot pronounce that word. The Ventriloquist. So yeah, I'm gonna put Scarface in the B tier because I do think he's a more interesting character and he is the villain. And Maxi Zeus, I've never liked Maxi Zeus, but yeah, I've never liked Maxi Zeus, F tier. So I kind of rearranged the list so it'd be more accurate to my actual ranking of these characters, and the only reason this chick is last is because I really have no idea who she is. If you do, please leave it down in the comments below. And yeah, the Riddler is my favorite villain of the show, absolutely love him. Let me know who your favorite villain of the show is down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I will see you guys next time.